The moment he can be on the water until the moment he has to be off, he's out there. I have never seen him take a shortened day, even if he's dying with the stomach bug or anything. I mean, he never takes a shortened day. So he is out there dark to dark for every tournament, however many days that you can be out on the water.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, episode 201. We are moving on. Gonna rack up another 200 episodes for you, hopefully, in the future. So, anyway, I am down on Lake Logan Martin right now as we speak, practice fishing for the big LBA Women's Pro Bass Tour Classic. That's gonna be Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. So far, practice is going great. Very excited for the tournament. You know, things can change on a dime, so definitely not putting all my eggs in one basket, but it's been fun. Love this lake. Love the campground we're at. We've got the Lance Truck Camper Mobile Podcast Studio here. Did an interview the other night with a really cool lady you're going to get to meet soon. So looking forward to sharing that with you. And this week, I have a very special guest on the show. Many of you know the name Iaconelli. Mike Iaconelli, of course, the highly accomplished, long-time bass angler. And I have his wife, Becky, on the show this week, so I'm really excited to introduce you to her. She does a lot of the all behind-the-scenes stuff for Mike with sponsorships and marketing and all sorts of things. So I can't wait for you to get to hear her story. And we're also going to talk about Mike's show that's out right now. Still a few episodes remaining in the season, so I hope you've already been watching, but if you haven't, I'm sure you can go back and check out some of the episodes that have already come out, but it's on CBS Sports. We're going to tell you all about it. My World with Mike Iaconelli. And one last thing before we get into it. So, the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, as I mentioned last week, is up for the Best Outdoor Podcast of 2020 from the Outdoor Media Summit. And voting should have ended Sunday at midnight. That was originally what they told us. But, for whatever reason, probably due to COVID, because that's the reason for everything, it seems like, anymore, but they have extended the voting now until Sunday, September 19th. So if it had ended when it was supposed to, we would have won. But like I said, they have extended it now. So if you haven't voted yet, you still have a chance to do so. Just go to the Woman Angler and Adventurer page on Facebook, or you can go to the Facebook group, and it's pinned at the top of that page. And all you have to do is super simple. You don't even have to enter any of your information or anything like that. You just hit the little radio dial next to the Woman Angler, the little white circle that will make it blue. As soon as that happens, you've cast your vote. It's that easy, literally one click. So those are the two best, easiest places I can tell you to go to find it. If you're not a member of the group as of yet, just send a request. I will get you added. And with that, I'm excited to get into this week's episode and introduce everybody to Becky Iaconelli. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm really excited to introduce you to my guest this week. We are chatting with Becky Iaconelli, and I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with the name Iaconelli. Of course, Mike Iaconelli, big bass angler, super accomplished in the sport. And, Becky does a lot behind the scenes and doesn't really like to be in the limelight, but I'm happy to feature her this week. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Thank you for being on the show. So we want to talk about, Mike's got a new show out called My World, just premiered on August 30th on CBS Sports Network, and we're going to get into talking about that. But before we do, just want to introduce the audience to you, and a little bit about your background. I was doing some reading up on everything, and I saw that you and Mike met, and I did not know this until I was looking into this, but you guys met back in 2006, actually at ICAST when it was in Las Vegas.
Yes, we did. It was many moons ago, but we did meet out there. I was not in the fishing industry. We had a friend in common who introduced us, and I guess the rest is history.
Very cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that ICAST was in Vegas at any point. I just always thought it's been in Orlando all this time, so...
It was a lot of fun when it was out in Vegas.
Yeah.
And it was a completely different ICAST. We spent a lot of hours out at night.
Oh, I'm sure. Probably a lot of money won and lost.
Exactly.
Well, very cool. So you weren't really into fishing at all when you met Mike.
I was not into fishing. I had never fished a day in my life when I met Mike. We hit it off, and he took me out fishing for my very first time, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I kind of liked him more than I liked the fishing. So the relationship blossomed. And as our relationship grew over a matter of time, I'd always been in sales and marketing. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw a hole in his business and a need to have someone helping him with sponsorship and helping grow the brand. So I kind of stepped into that role as the years went on.
Well, very good, because that's something that's much needed if you're trying to make a career in the fishing industry. Obviously, that whole part of it is extremely challenging for, I think, a lot of anglers, because, you know, you're what you're talented in is the fishing part of it, and then to also have to be able to figure out this whole other piece in order to make it into a career is something that I think that a lot of anglers struggle with.
Yes, it is hard. Mike luckily had a degree in advertising and marketing, so I think he always truly had that vision of what he wanted to grow himself and the brand to be. He just didn't have enough hours in the day to fish full time and grow that other piece. So for me to come along and kind of step into that role, and now that we've been together for this many years, I think we can, you know, answer each other's, finish each other's sentences. You know, we know what the other one's thinking. We very much became a team that was united in exactly what we were going to move forward and do.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah. So with Mike fishing, he's one of these anglers, I guess, that when he has a tournament, talk about like the practice fishing. He's out there pretty much sun up to sundown. Is that accurate?
Yes. The moment he can be on the water until the moment he has to be off, he's out there. I have never seen him take a shortened day, even if he's dying with the stomach bug or anything. I mean, he never takes a shortened day. So he is out there dark to dark for every tournament, however many days that you can be out on the water. He's quite obsessive in his routine, but it pays off. I mean, yeah. That's what he does. That's his passion.
So when you first met him and saw this kind of work ethic, what did you think about that?
I think I'm a highly driven individual as well. So I think when I met Mike and I saw how passionate and how hard he works at something and how determined he is, that was attractive to me, because I too am very competitive and just very driven. So I knew I needed to find somebody that was wired similar to me. So I think it was a match for us.
Awesome. So you weren't like, why would anybody fish this much?
No, instead I'm actually confused when people don't. I'm like, why? Like, why are you off the water already? I don't understand that.
Awesome. And I wanted to talk to you too about, so this is my first year personally. I'm fishing the Women's Pro Bass Tour this year, and so I got a Lance truck camper, and that way we could travel in the truck camper and still pull the boat. But I know you guys did the fifth wheel thing for a while, or you still are probably, right?
Yes, we do. We still travel out of a fifth wheel. So early on, I had my son Vegas. He is 10 now. That first year, we just traveled out of the Toyota truck, and somehow in that truck, we had to manage to pack a crib and baby supplies and everything else. And it was packed. I mean, it was like Tetris every time you had to repack that truck. It was so precise to fit the three of us in there. So when I became pregnant with my daughter, who's 8, I told Mike, I said, this is not working. Like, we cannot all fit in this truck. We have to find a way to change. And at that time, I'd also become friends with so many of the other families on the road. And I was spending my life in the campgrounds while he was out on the water, hanging out with them, having the kids play together. And I told him we should really look into the RV life for travel. So we don't do anything small. So of course, our first fifth wheel was a 40-foot fifth wheel. And, we just took off for it. The first event that year was the Classic at Grand Lake out in Oklahoma. So we just rolled on out and never looked back, just kept driving.
Wow. Yeah, and it's that's becoming a highly popular way to travel for people on tour. And I had Kayla Jochimson on the show a while back, and we were talking about because they lived in their Lance truck camper for 4 years, and now they have a little homestead, but they also still travel for tournaments in the Lance truck camper. And I was like, now, especially after COVID, or during COVID even, it's hard to find open spots in some parts of the country as far as to make reservations. And so that's what I've run into. The first couple tournaments, I couldn't get a spot this year. And then toward the end of the year, I was able to, thankfully. But I was asking her, like, how do you guys, get in, make reservations for all these different tournaments you're going to? And she said, basically, as soon as the schedule's released, we get online or whatever, and we're making our reservations because so many people on tour now too are traveling that way.
Yes. It's always been a mad scramble the moment the schedule comes out. All the wives are communicating, okay, here's the campground, and everyone, calls and gets booked, or, you've got to mark your calendars because some won't take reservations till January 1st of that year. And it is a lot of work. It has gotten a lot harder since COVID to get campground reservations. It's become very interesting. And part of the other problem is when you're hauling such a big camper, and then you also have a truck and a boat. So you've got 2 trucks, a camper and a boat. You either need 2 spots or very wide spots. So what you need from a campground is very specific, and not all of them have it or can accommodate.
Right. Yeah, I've run into that as well. With the truck camper too, some RV parks won't accept truck campers. So that's been an interesting challenge for me.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know I've never really figured out what it is about it. I guess just because it's not on wheels. So if you take it off the truck and you lower it down, maybe, truck campers kind of also have a reputation. You think back, like when we were kids, those old style truck campers that some people still have, aren't like these Lance truck campers with slide outs and showers and self-contained. Right. So, I'm not exactly sure the reasoning, but yeah, that's been a little bit of a challenge for me too. So.
Wow. See, it's always an adventure, isn't it?
It is, exactly. And it's learning. There's so much to learn when you get an RV and you travel that way. Definitely a learning curve there. With speaking of COVID, like, how has that affected you guys these past couple years?
Well, it's interesting because I think our company, I've got about 7 employees. when COVID hit, we all sat down, looked at each other and said, okay, what are we doing? And we kind of kicked it into overdrive. And instead of not having a lot going on, we dove even further into the whole digital marketing world and just grew any project we possibly could that was digital or from afar. So, I mean, we held tournaments early on that were with, the groups like Half a Spot and Tourney X and, trying to get people outside, even if it was from the bank. We encouraged all sorts of stuff. We did a lot of fundraisers that way so that we could get food to kids, because especially in our area, once the schools weren't in session, they were trying to find ways to get food to the children who were fed at school. So we were trying to work with groups in the area that were making sure that kids were fed. And we held tournaments in order to fundraise to do those things. We really drove into the digital world in the way of content. So we, filmed and produced so many more videos, so much more to help our sponsors out, to, help see sales on their end, anything that we could do. So I cannot say that our world slowed down. It went into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
During that time is also when we had discussions. We knew we wanted to do this TV show. And we took that, that time period and said, okay, here's the chance. Like, we've got, a bunch of friends that are in different sports. Let's work with them and start filming this show that we dreamed of. We already had a partner with a production company. And so we dove into that. So just so much more production and filming and content. I mean, we're so content heavy. And then even as Mike has had to go back into the tournament world, we've kept the content up. So we're just working harder and harder. We never had a lull time.
Right. That's super cool. I love the people that, found a way to adapt and make this weird time in our lives, kind of work. So that's really cool. And it's a perfect transition into talking about the show, My World with Mike Iaconelli. Tell listeners a little bit about what the show is all about.
So My World it's a day in the life of Mike in his world, and then it's the day in the life of another athlete. So the first episode was Lane Johnson from the Philadelphia Eagles, and Mike spent a day with him basically doing his training camp session. I think Mike almost died because Lane's like 6'6", like just huge offensive tackle. I mean, he's a beast of a human. So he put Mike through his training day. And then the next day it was, okay, now let's go out into Mike's world. And they went fishing. And there's always a challenge and there's a time frame and, just to keep it interesting to see if, they can attain whatever it is. But there's been freshwater, there's been saltwater. I mean, Mike is just an angler. I mean, his love of fishing in general, I think surpasses just that, like just general bass fishing. I mean, he loves to fish, anything that's going to pull back. So we've got saltwater shows, we've got freshwater shows. Some of the people on the show we're already friends with, but then other people were sports that we really wanted to highlight. And there's so many sports out there that I don't even think we realize, of course we have our mainstream sports, you've got your baseball, you've got your, ice hockey and football, but we also wanted to meet folks in like all different walks of life and athletics. So we've got a bull rider this year. We've got a bowler. Mike is actually finishing up the last shoot. We've got, an amazing woman. She's on the LPGA, so she's a women's golfer.
Very cool.
Just really, really awesome people that kind of wanted to jump into his world for a day, and he jumps into their world.
Very nice. Well, I guess Mike has to have a certain amount of courage to jump in and do some of these sports like MMA and driving a race car. I mean, I kind of think about, when I was thinking about the show, I was kind of putting myself in his shoes, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd had the courage to jump into some of these worlds.
Yeah, I I've learned a lot about myself because I'm not sure why these things didn't bother me beforehand. But then they, the production team will let me know. They're like, okay, we're going to sit Mike on a bull now. I'm like, wait, a live bull?
Yeah.
He's going to sit on a living, breathing, angry bull right now. I think the bull riding show is he got the most bruised and battered. I mean, he had bruises on his thighs because they stuck him on a bull, but he was still in the chute. The bull was unhappy and just kept slamming him into the sides. So I guess I need to find sports that he could be a little less hurt in. Right. Now that season 1 is done, the things that I'm learning, like I kind of need to keep him alive. Right. So
exactly.
Maybe I'll work on that for season 2.
Yeah. How many episodes are in the first season then?
Season 1 has 6 episodes.
Okay. Cool. And it's on CBS Sports.
Yes.
And that's every Monday night?
Every Monday night. Yep. So this coming week, it's 9 p.m. Monday evening. And they're a fun 30-minute episode. I know a lot of people were saying it'd be great if it could be an hour. But you think, I mean, a lot of these athletes to give up 2 days worth of their time is so much. We couldn't take more than that from them. So it's a really cool kind of jam-packed 30-minute episode, which I think people will really enjoy.
Great. Well, I'll encourage all the listeners to check out that show, and hopefully there'll be a season 2. That would be awesome. I just really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to be on the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. And anything else that you want to talk about or share? Are you going to be at the MPAA conference this fall?
I probably will not. I think I'm going to have to send Mike solo to that just because I have small children in school, and right. I'll probably have to be home for that. But no, definitely everybody check out the show. Everyone check out. We run a foundation to get kids fishing, especially in urban and disadvantaged areas. So everyone check out the Ike Foundation. That's kind of been a labor of love to get through COVID because we've always had fundraisers on site, and we've had to figure out how to do that digitally as well. So everyone check out the Ike Foundation, especially if, you believe in getting kids into the sport of fishing and growing fishing for the future generations.
I will put a link to that in the show notes for this episode so people can easily click on that and go check that out.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you again for being on the show. And we will definitely stay in touch.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.